All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to demystify two of the most essential tools out there for anyone who writes code: Git and GitHub. If you've ever worked on a project, you know how fast things can get messy. So let's talk about how these tools bring some serious order to that chaos and honestly just make life as a developer way better. But first, let's talk about the problem. Let's set a scene that is, well, probably a little too real for a lot of you. It's that heart in your throat, sinking feeling when you realize something has gone very wrong with the code. And this isn't made up. This is a real, panicked message from a developer to their boss. It is the absolute worst feeling. It's like you accidentally threw the master blueprint for a skyscraper into a shredder. One little mistake can bring an entire project to a screeching halt, wiping out hours or even days of work. It is the definition of a nightmare scenario. So how did we even survive before the tools we have now? Well, people often relied on what's jokingly called the thumb drive algorithm. You know what I'm talking about. You'd copy your code onto a flash drive, maybe email a zip file to your teammate, or drop it in a shared folder. And then the fun would begin, trying to manually figure out who changed what, copying and pasting bits of code, and just praying you didn't overwrite someone else's brilliant work. It was total chaos. Yeah, there has to be a better way. And of course, there is. That incredibly messy process is exactly why the two heroes of our story were invented. They give us a safe, structured, and just sane way to manage our code and work together. Let's start with the foundation for all of this: Git. The easiest way to think about Git is that it's your own personal time machine for your code, running silently right on your computer. So what is it, technically? At its heart, Git is a piece of software called a version control system, or VCS. Its entire job is to watch your project folder and just meticulously record every single change. Every line you add, every typo you fix, every file you delete. It's like a perfect, detailed logbook for your project's entire life. You know, the best analogy I've ever heard for this is that it's like creating save points in a video game. Seriously, every time you get to a good spot, like you finish a new feature or you squash a nasty bug, you tell Git to create a commit. That's your save point. If you go on to completely break everything 10 minutes later, no panic. You just reload your last good save. It's that simple. Okay, so Git is our personal time machine on our own machine. That's great for solo work. But what happens the second you need to work with a team or just back up your project somewhere safe online? Well, that's where our second hero, GitHub, comes into play. So GitHub is a website. It's a service that lives in the cloud. Now, it's really important to get this straight. GitHub does not track your changes. That's Git's job. GitHub is the central place you store or host your Git projects. These projects are called repositories or repos. But really, it's so much more than just a storage locker. A better way to think of it is like a massive library and a social network rolled into one, but specifically for code. You can browse millions of open source projects, and you can also use it as the central hub for your own team. It's where you track bugs, plan new features, and even automate things. For a developer, your GitHub profile basically becomes your living resume, showing off all the cool stuff you've built. Okay, so let's nail this down, because this is where most people get tripped up at first. Git is the tool. GitHub is the place. Git runs on your computer, locally. You don't even need internet to use it. GitHub is the website on the internet where you push your code to share it and collaborate. You can totally use Git without ever using GitHub, but you absolutely cannot use GitHub without using Git. It's the foundation. So we have our local time machine and our cloud library. How do these two things actually let a whole team of people work on the same project at the same time without creating that thumb drive nightmare we talked about? Well, the modern workflow is actually really simple and safe. First, you create something called a branch. Think of it as your own private copy of the entire project, a sandbox where you can experiment and not break anything for anyone else. As you work, you make those commits, your personal save points. Once you're done and happy with your work, you open a pull request on GitHub. That's just a formal way of saying, hey team, take a look at this. I think it's ready. And then, once it's approved, your work is merged back into the main project for everyone to use. And that right there is the magic. Because everyone works in their own safe little branch, Nobody can accidentally delete or overwrite someone else's work. It's just not possible. There's a formal review process built right into the system. And Git is smart enough to handle merging most of the changes automatically. It gives you structure and safety instead of chaos.
So when you put the local power of Git together with the cloud platform of GitHub, you don't just get a better process, you get a whole new set of developer superpowers.
I mean, think about it. Your code never truly disappears because its whole history is saved. You can rewind to any previous version with a single command. The system automatically merges changes for you. You have a perfect record of who changed what, when they changed it, and why. And you can do a ton of your work, like making all those commits, completely offline.
But the story doesn't end there. After figuring out how to save and share code, the next big evolution is changing how we write it in the first place. The whole GitHub ecosystem is now pushing into artificial intelligence, asking a really cool new question. What if you had an AI partner helping you code? And this is it, GitHub Copilot. It's an AI tool that plugs right into your code editor. As you're typing, it's watching and thinking, and then it suggests the next line of code or sometimes an entire function. It's designed to literally be your AI pair programmer, helping you go faster and make fewer mistakes.
Now, it's super important to see this as a tool, not some magic bullet. On the plus side, yes, it can make you way faster, especially with boring repetitive code. It can even help beginners learn by showing them how pros might write something. But on the other side, the suggestions aren't always perfect, and it has absolutely no concept of security. The human developer is still the pilot. You have to check every single line it suggests. And that's really the main takeaway here. AI tools like Copilot are not about replacing developers. They're about augmenting what we can do. The whole idea is to let the AI handle the tedious stuff so that we humans can focus on what we're actually good at, thinking creatively, solving hard problems, and designing incredible systems. Which brings us all the way back to the beginning. With a tool like Git to protect your project's history, GitHub to connect you with your team, and now AI assistants like Copilot to help you write code faster, the modern developer has an incredible toolkit. So I'll leave you with this final thought. With all of this in place, is your code finally safe from its single greatest threat? Your future self making a mistake at 2 in the morning? Thanks for tuning in.